Oh, I'm already live. Well, I didn't know. So let's start. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. My name is Anton Babenko, and this is your weekly dose of Terraform. And today we are gonna to look more into EKS. And as some of you know, we have Terraform-aws EKS module, which is pretty big, pretty popular, has a lot of features. And well, we will be looking into that module, and the task which I have decided to put for myself today is to actually look into how this module is built. And I feel that the module itself is not very much similar. Well, no, it's rather similar to the rest of modules which we have, but there are still some things which has to be improved inside of examples to be able to run this kind of easier. And also there are a few things which I want to kind of discuss, or maybe prepare even for bigger migration or for bigger refactoring, which will happen over the course of next months or several months. And to do that, let's start with this one. So I want to say thanks to N0 for supporting my live stream. N0 is providing an automation provisioning platform for your Terraform and infrastructure as code workflows. So you have a bunch of your code, you want to put it into your automation, and you want to control who has a possibility to apply and run Terraform commands for that. You have very detailed role-based access control there, and well, that's n0.com. So if you want to know more, go to n0.com/Anton or just n0.com, and it should be good. So let's move to InfraCost. InfraCost is another company which is doing a great job, and they just need 5 more stars. So guys, if you are watching this and you have not put star here, go to infracost.io, click on this star, and your cloud bill will become smaller. Well, eventually, if you terminate all of your instances. And in 2 weeks, well, no, sorry, in a week, next week, I'm gonna to have Cesar Rodriguez, who is the original creator of Terrascan, and he works for Curix, where he is actually developing the tool as well as many other things. So join us next week, and we will be talking about Terrascan. And well, my main question is why there are so many tools, and we'll try to get it through. I will also try it like for real and see if it actually works, or what does it do and where it doesn't work. So, well, I know exactly where it doesn't work, because there are many other tools which also doesn't work in the same case. Chekhov, TFSec, Terrascan, all of them have very similar issues. We'll be talking about that in next week episode with Cesar. And the week after that, we will have an episode with Brian, who is actually active user of Atlantis. I guess everybody already know what is Atlantis, so join us. When is it? 24th of September, and we will be talking about Atlantis, because he is active user of it. And well, yeah, already a question: Terrascan or Chekhov, which one would you recommend? I actually talked to, well, I cannot mention who I talked to, but I don't want to recommend any of those. Though I was told that I should recommend Chekhov, but there are a lot of flaws in all of these tools, at least from my perspective. I will try to explain it, and maybe even explain what I'm looking into and what kind of next projects which I'm involved into. So stay tuned. Next week we'll be talking primarily about Terrascan. If you want to know more about Chekhov, or how Chekhov is behaving or has been behaved 1 year ago, I made an episode approximately 1 year ago on the same channel, so you can go to YouTube and type Terraform, Chekhov, tools review, or Anton Babenko somewhere, and you will see my review together with Barak, where we talked about Chekhov. Okay, and yeah, Atlantis is another awesome tool, so we'll talk about these 24s. Okay, so that's all about announcements. As you can see, I don't have so many new exciting announcements which I want to share, because there is a newsletter, WeeklyTF, where you can subscribe, and well, WeeklyTF is where you can subscribe, and you can see a recent newsletter here, and I send it every Wednesday, and you can see what kind of discussion was inside of HashiCorp, Terraform and community contributions, and it was pretty interesting. And yeah, you don't have to look into TF to Pulumi tool. Okay, jokes aside, just subscribe to this newsletter and you will not miss big announcements which may happen without you following it. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is primarily inside of this EKS module. Let's see, what is this module look like? Yeah, so here is it. Terraform-AWS EKS module is or has been started by this guy who's not actively involved into development for quite a long time, but he has started it on day 0. It got a lot of attention, lots of people are using it. Approximately 30,000 unique clones every day. Maybe less, maybe 25. Anyway, a lot of people. So whatever errors we make when we do any PR or fix any issue, we receive feedback pretty much instantly from people who use this module inside of their CI/CD pipeline, and something suddenly became broken for them, which is not good. So to improve this, I want to look into the structure of the code and try to understand what can we do, first of all, better inside of examples, and then I will look into how can we actually simplify some parts of this code. So the code itself is, as I said, pretty much organically grown in all directions. So what means organically? When we hear a new issue or new request from anyone, then this person is just making it in usually first place where he or she thinks is best. Usually it's like best intention, of course, but sometimes we need to be a little bit more careful and don't put things in random places because they don't belong here. And quite long time ago, yeah, approximately 2019, another big contributor, Max, has started to to tackle another problem, that complexity of the module is too high. And well, there are lots of comments and lots of discussions and some proposals how we can simplify it or refactor it, what can we do with it. And the problem is that yes, what a great time to tune into the stream. Hello again. So the problem from user perspective is that, well, the module is big, but it's very powerful and it has a lot of features, and we want to keep the same amount of features, but we just want to refactor it slightly differently so that we can actually use it more effectively. This was 2019, so well, I completely forgot what does it mean in terms of Terraform versions, but I guess it was about Terraform 0.12 released. So this module has a lot of legacy features, a lot of workarounds which were implemented over time. So many people who are using this module, including Andy, who was writing this comment, well, almost 2 years ago. 2 years is pretty long term, I have to say. So most likely this comment is not relevant in many ways because it was just 2 years ago, so we need to think carefully. But some of these points are very, very valid. For example, maybe we should drop support for Windows. Well, I know what some of you are thinking, that oh yeah, of course we need to drop it. But there are users who are using this module and who rely on these features. So we need to be a little bit more careful, maybe provide some upgrade guide or some other features. What we obviously don't want to do is that we don't want to support more than one canonical version of this module, which means that we will not maintain 2 versions with Windows and another without Windows, or two very different versions of something where we just don't have enough controls and enough possibilities to test. So yeah, there are a few questions. I'm glad that you guys are answering it by yourself. I'll just put it on the screen. Here, is it good to generate TF files from existing AWS infra using Terraformer? Well, I guess the answer is if you are happy with the output which you receive from Terraformer, then probably it's good. If you are looking as would human write code better than any automation tool would generate, the answer is most likely yes, because these tools are just doing it, scanning the whole resources without understanding concepts of modules and some other Terraform specific things. Okay, so okay, you can also use a Terraform add function, which was added, I think, as experiment in latest version of Terraform, but well, I don't understand the use case for that function myself, but you can use it. Terraform added. Okay, so looking into these comments, I haven't been reading it in 2019. To be honest, I was trying to avoid, and I was successfully avoiding all EKS vault myself up until just recently, right? Because we've had this discussion earlier with other maintainers, and we figured out that we need to have more support and more help from the community, so we invited some other key players to participate in all of this, and that's what we have right now. We have closed approximately 70 issues and pull requests during last months, so which is a lot, and we still have a lot to do. So let's look into this thing in detail. Take into account that this happened 2 years ago. Some of this may be not relevant. Usually the point is that the proposal is to, hey, let's make smaller focus modules. Well, for me this sounds like common sense if things can be reused or they are not very much related to each other. Especially in our case, we can use Terraform 0.13 features, so we can use for each inside of modules if we have to, and this is really important. So some small modules for worker group module, main EKS cluster module, Fargate module. Well, some of this has happened, so let's don't focus on these details so much. Let's just scan something here. Maybe Daniel wrote something. Local exec should be banned from within the module now. That is gone. Yeah, Windows support is difficult. Well, Windows is separate. So let's see. If you guys, in the meanwhile, have some ideas or some proposals for what does complexity mean for you and how do you think it can be simplified, please chime in chat and we can kind of discuss it as well. Start rejecting PRs that want to introduce breaking changes that are not providing great documentation on how to upgrade and preferably automated migration. We discussed just briefly about automated migration, that it's now inside of inside of Terraform core, there is a draft pull request which is proposing or discussing how the automated migration in state file can happen. So this is part of Terraform core. Could you please come up with a VPC module in depth with VPC peering for existing infrastructure with cross accounts and cross regions? Well, yeah, that's probably a good exercise to do. For me, it sounds pretty simple, I have to say, because on one side you spin up VPC module and you pass provider to handle that, and on another side you create VPC another account, and then you use VPC peering and acceptor resource to do that. But I can just show one module which does similar thing, which is somewhere here. It's about VPC peering, and it has exactly what you just said. VPC peering, this one by Jura. So he has examples. Here, example, single account, single region with options, single account, multi-regions, multi-accounts, multi-regions. So if we look into this one, I'm quite sure that that's exactly what you want. So you call this module and you provide two providers with one VPC and another VPC and auto accept peering. So that's pretty much it. I can probably send this link into chat. Well, where do I have chat? That's tricky. Maybe I have chat here. Let me just show here. So I put this link here, and I'm sure that you will have very good experience using this module. If not, just open issue and Jura will be able to help you with that. There are a lot of examples and a lot of users as well. So let's go on to this EKS stuff. Okay, so automated migration, as I said, it should be handled primarily inside of Terraform core, though we can use external tools as well for that, but it's too complicated to even think about this right now. Providing great documentation and good examples is a key, is absolutely the biggest point in all successful Terraform AWS modules which we have. And well, start rejecting PRs. I think we do a pretty good job by rejecting if people don't follow issue template and they just say their thoughts instead of instead of asking questions and providing enough details. So I can see this very often principle, no hello, yeah, so exactly. So this no hello principle is one of key point in not just in Slack or in other discussions, but also in PR, where people just say something very abstract and not really actionable. We cannot say is it bug or is it real issue or sometimes answered. So just, well, okay. So sometimes people are proposing splitting up to, well, I think Daniel proposed it somewhere here. So here he said about Windows argument that Windows is bad. Well, Windows is probably not the easiest thing, and I don't think we actually need to consider it so much, at least right now. We can always make another module for that if necessary. I mean, submodule. So splitting up submodules would isolate some of the complexity rather than running as a single flat layer, similar to how RDS module is designed. Let's see how RDS module is designed, and let me just explain why I designed it this way. I designed it this way because I had no clue what I was doing 4 years ago. That's it. Well, okay, no, I'm kidding. I was doing it in a way that when you want to spin up single type of resource, you spin up RDS database instance in this case, but there were no ways to specify nulls inside of some of these properties. That's why we had another type of resource. I can look it into history. Well, not history, sorry. So this submodule, let's say for DB instance, was not actually doing just one resource, like DB instance. It was doing conditionally one resource. So if I look into something, let's say somewhere here, no, this is it, this is browse this, yeah, this file. So somewhere here I want to show how the file was written. So this was, I can probably make font bigger. So I was making this DB instance, and I was also making another resource DB instance. But because I couldn't use null inside of values here, because it was pre-0.12 version, that's why I abstracted it away, and I say that user just has to give me what type of engine he wants to use, and then I will make one resource or another. So for user it was an abstraction, and it was very reasonable that time. If I look into like which of these principles can be applied into EKS, yes, we definitely can do similar separation, because there are some cases when we want to make node groups, for example. It's not one resource, it's a lot of magic around it, and node groups. So version linked partner modules that user include as necessary, similar to how security group module work. Well, security group module was written because I was lazy. I was lazy to copy paste a lot of code, so I made a template inside of modules. There is templates. This is like source of truth, and then the rest is generated using these templates. So all of these submodules, they have hard-coded values in it. So for users, it's just easier to use. I'm not sure where can we apply this. Yeah, I'm not sure where we can apply this principle of templating at all in EKS module, but let's see. Anyway, this comment I think is very good. Maybe I have to highlight it somewhere. How can I do this? Reference in new issue. No, it's what is it? No, this is something wrong. Copy link. What is this link? Okay, yeah, cool. So I will probably copy this link just for my own like reference, and I will put it somewhere outside. So this is just like the reason why I like to collect information is because I'm very new to EKS module, and history since 2019 is something new for me. I saw this proposal of separation quite a few times already, and I definitely understand it, and I think it is already implemented to some degree. So yeah, so there will be Fargate, managed node groups, normal worker groups. Some of this is already implemented, so which is good. Oh, I even said something here. Who is this? Ansible. Oh, I did say something. Ah, right. Okay, yeah. Well, I changed my mind apparently. I don't think that splitting this module into submodules or separate repositories for Fargate, managed node groups, normal worker groups will give any benefits to users and maintainers. I'd like to change just one word in this sentence, is that I don't think that splitting this module into separate repositories will make sense, because we are just talking about the same entity still. It is called EKS. It is one service, and there are a bunch of different ways how we can configure it. So it can be submodules. That's fine, but no need to do in separate repos, as some guys from Cloud Posse are doing. Okay. I'm not against splitting this module into submodules. Yeah, so the same things. Okay, here we are. We now have 4 ways of creation workers. This is really important to follow at least these ways, and maybe we will kind of optimize it a little bit. Okay, worker groups with launch configuration is most likely to be dropped, because we don't have any benefits of launch configuration what we don't have inside of launch template at all. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's just from the past. Here is Eric. Yes, of course, Eric has separation by repositories. I don't see this separation meaningful in our case, because we can do the same, exactly the same in submodules, and we have also wired TerraTest. Well, TerraTest is not necessary here, but we'll check this out later too. Okay, so Eric, again, proposal is to have cluster, worker, node groups, Fargate profiles. I'll just mention, or I will take his comment again, and should be fine. Okay, good. So, okay, well, in general, it was very long discussion, and then people are talking about child modules, and you still have all code that would organize, otherwise be in node groups, plus duplicate code outputs, variables, and so on. And I wanted to say welcome to Terrascan, but no, I will not tell welcome to Terrascan, because this is not something what is even worth attention. The point is that when you have all of these submodules, and this is very easy to see inside of RDS module. So all things inside of variables TF, which is on the root level. Here we have invocation for all of this module, plus another module, and so on. And then we have these variables. So variables in this one is like glued together from all of these submodules. So once you update anything here, you just have to copy this value into your parent module. That's pretty much it. Yes, Terraform is not so nice in this sense, but that's what we have to deal with anyway. Alternatively, let me think. No, that's it. There is no alternative. I was thinking about S3 bucket module, but it's not related. Okay, stop or limit the frequency of break and change. Well, yes and no. Well, this was a comment again, beginning of 2020, when this discussion was very active. Stop accepting all of this. Well, that makes sense. But what do we want to do? Is that well, at least that's the difference between how previous maintainer or Tierna has been doing this and how I'm doing it. I usually release every small thing every time when PR is merged. So that's why VPC module, which stayed on 1.0 for 2 years, Yeah, backward compatibility is, well, I mean, if there wouldn't be any backward compatibility promise, then our life would be much, much simpler and actually very boring. Because now we have the challenge to support different versions of everything, think about how users will have to migrate without actually giving them tools to migrate. That's pretty cool. Okay, and here is Daniel also explained in more details. That's what I'm hearing more and more frequently is launch configurations are historical. And this was 2020. Well, how much? Well, it's almost 1.5 years ago when launch configuration were kind of claimed as historical. So obviously just drop them. Oh, that's easy, you see. Okay, so we'll drop them. Why do we have to drop them? I don't know. I mean, if they work and people rely on them. Yeah, well, we probably will have to drop them at some point anyway and focus on a little bit clean code. So launch template do a lot more than launch configuration. Yes, they do. Node groups are new and don't implement features that people need. Well, again, it's so subjectively. It was beginning of 2020. Okay. Well, yeah, a bunch of different things here and there, and well, a lot of interesting things happening. Again, this is example of how these modules were split in Cloud POSE terms. Okay, well, I think it's quite clear. Let's see what we can do in the code. If I go to my editor now. Okay, inside of code, I've had few ideas before, so I will just start looking into them now. Okay, so I have this EKS folder, and inside of this folder I have a bunch of different files. Well, I probably need to do, if I'm gonna to do any changes, I probably need to do git checkout. What is it going to be? It's going to be well, let's call it chore. Well, I know that it sounds not whore, but I pronounce it sometimes differently. So chore, and this is going to be refactoring examples. Why examples? I don't know. It can be, it depends. Maybe it will be so cool that I refactor everything. So what means refactoring for me? Means absolutely no new features, no removal, just looking into code and see how to make it as equal as possible, and make a list of actions for myself to do. So if I look into all of these files, well, this is it. If I look into right, okay, we have locals everywhere. I'm not trying to execute it or validate it in any way just yet. Quite interesting observation I want to say is that if I look into, what is it, delete bookmark, if I click git blame, you will see that pretty much, well, sometimes there is one guy who added like 4 or 5 lines, but in many places what I saw was pretty much one guy added 1 line, then another guy changed it, then another guy changed another line. So it was always refactoring and always like changes inside of it. So it's not like one guy added this, let's say 2 years ago, and that's it, and it has not been touched since that time. It's not like that at all. For me, it's an indicator that code was always kind of improving or refactoring. Some of these patterns were introduced from an ALB module, which we refactored, and we actually got rid of many of those lookups and inherited long time ago, like very long time ago, literally 2 years ago. But here I can see that these lookups and defaults are propagated, and this sometimes makes a lot of problems. Okay, let's talk about this later. Config maps. No, not really special. There was where was it? Right, I think Manuel wrote a comment about depends on. Yes, so this is a hack for homemade depend on will be removed in Terraform 0.13 with support of modules depend on. So how can this be removed? Is it enough if I just remove this variable? Well, at least I can make search of it, right? So we have EKS depends on inside of Fargate module. Okay, don't look into this one. The root module, like what does the root module consist of? I'm maybe lacking some terms here, but I'm still trying to understand. So AWS Auth is making a Kubernetes resource map, resource, and that's it. Then we have cluster, which is actually a cluster with a bunch of different parameters, with a bunch of depends. Then we have security group rules. I'm reading through this and thinking whether this is something what has to be externalized into its own submodule or not. Because I don't think the use case can be that somebody has a lot of other resources and they just want to use this module to create just stupid plain EKS cluster resource. Most likely they will do another way around. They will use this module to create cluster and optionally a few other resources, and then maybe they attach some other resources based on outputs. So I don't think this is necessary to move to external or to submodule. But a lot of magic happens already with AWS IAM things. Well, pretty much. We render some policy documents, some attachment roles. Okay. All right. So let's go to another file, data. Data is a little bit encrypted here because, well, I guess it is place for all of data source, but it's not true because there are some data source laying around as well inside of other files like cluster, as I just saw. Why do we have so many depends at all here? Like, okay, wait for clusters, I think I understand what is it, but I don't. Well, this is long word. Custom worker group launch template IAM instance profile. Well, but isn't it obvious this is IAM instance profile because it's already here? Well, but this refactoring and these renames are not gonna to happen anyway, so I can just shut up. Okay, a module for Fargate. EKS depends on, this is hack, which has to be removed, I guess, and it has to be just this, right? Well, I need to double check that one because I'm not so confident with many things here. That's a problem. Okay, well, if we look into into this one. That's again IAM OpenID Connect Provider resource. Okay, here we have kubectl local file. Well, this one I have less questions for. You're welcome, Gun. That's our pleasure to hear these positive comments. I can put it somewhere here. And well, if you guys want to support us, you know how to do this. Well, you should know how to do this. There is support button or sponsor button on pretty much all resources or all repositories, and you can join us as support on where? On GitHub. Yeah, GitHub sponsors is the best one, at least for me. Okay, so this one is also okay. kubectl is just a file. Do we use it anywhere? Just file. Okay, good. So this is just one file which we don't actually use anywhere else. Okay, what else do I have here? It was file kubectl. Now we have local, and this is where a lot of magic is happening, which has to be improved, simplified, removed. Well, I don't even know where to start looking into it. But let's start from the top. So we have a bunch of different conditional things for security groups, for platforms, for kubectl config files, and every time when I see these complicated things, I was thinking like, why this is so hard to read? It can be just in 2 lines. I mean, yes, I understand that you want to put comment there, but it can be well, it can be different. Here we have Windows and Linux. So my next question is going to be, how do we even check that this is Windows? So if this is Windows, there should be an example. I mean, I expect there has to be an example, and there is no example. So I have no clue if this even work. Like, did anyone verify that platform Windows work? And this 1.14 is a magic number, right? 114 here, 114 here. I have no clue what happens after 114, but I will put it into external variable somewhere. Windows nodes are available. Okay, that's good to know. You see, I learned something today. Yeah, this is I can feel that this came from Brandon. Well, this came from everyone else, but originally this came from Brandon in about 2018. Yeah, about 2018. In working, yeah. So the point is that hello, David. By the way, David is one of active maintainer, and he is a guy who is answering issues and reviewing pull requests. So if there is something good during last months, it's because of David and few other people who reply. So in working groups, you specify platform for workers, and this is type of knowledge which I don't want to get from humans. I want to go to example, find example, EKS with Windows workers or something like that, run it and see that it works. That's it. And currently there is no example, but yeah, I get that it has to come from somewhere, from some sort of variable somewhere. Okay, so this kind of magic is pretty much impossible to review right now. Let me just find what is the most popular things where we added some things was worker group defaults. Wow, worker groups defaults. That's a pretty cool name. So inside of this one, if we want to add new default, we add it here, and we add it in a couple more other places. For example, if we add tags, then we add it in few places. Okay, let's go to, this is just impossible to understand right now, but yeah, this is another fine thing. So this is defaults, which came from the module itself. Then user can customize it by merging something, and yeah, that's how it is. This is EBS optimized, not supported. I guess for this one we can actually use data source to fetch information more more correctly, because some users may have different instance type. But again, this is local, which probably is, yeah, it's possible to customize it anyway. Cube config is template file of this one, right? So here we are actually generating the content of the file. Yeah, this is where magic with platform is happen. Okay, do we need Windows at all? Probably not. Then this is simplified. This can be simplified in very short sentence. Like, even if we use Windows or not, it doesn't matter. But the point is that we use Terraform 0.13, and we just specify in try whatever we want to try, and if we succeed we will be happy. Come on. Now my computer froze a little bit. Okay, and then we use try off. No, there is no need to be try. So we just try this one. If we were successful, then I mean, if this doesn't exist, how about platform? And and this is Windows. So then platform. So what is the default here? It's probably Linux. To trying to get this one, Linux, and that's it, right? I mean, maybe not so simple as I thought initially, but anyway, it can be still simplified. So the point is that in try you can just specify your best intention, because you want to have this one. If this fails, then how about getting information from this one, worker groups, platform. Okay, so this one, Linux is the last default option, so we want to get this one and then Linux. So we try this one, and then we successfully find Linux, and then if it is Linux, then we get this guy, and or else we use this guy. And if we run Terraform FMT on this one, it will be much nicer to read. And of course, you don't have to put it on new lines, you can just put it into one. Well, maybe not so nice. But in general, try is a very helpful operator, I find. Okay, let's move on. It's not the end of the world for now. With this, guys, yeah, this is something what I think is quite relevant, because we see these lookups all over the code. Well, at least I saw them, and I'm not sure this is the right way of approaching this, because I want to, again, use try to find whatever I have inside of pre-user data. If there is no such thing, then get that one. That's it. I think this is much shorter. Right? So you have this one, and if it doesn't exist, then you take from that one. Yeah, well, it can be debated, I understand. Oh, but this is similar, right? This one is what we just saw in other place. Oh, this is again the same user data. So what is this? Launch template user data rendered, and this one is user data rendered. What is the difference here? Well, we are iterating through different worker groups launch template count. Well, yeah, it has to be. I mean, this is probably refactoring, but it's a little bit too complicated to do right now. Anyway, I will leave it for now, and I will do it later on, if necessary. I'm not sure, but because this is just small refactoring, which we can do anytime later. Okay, let's go on to, it was local file. Now the interesting part. We are invoking node groups, local module, create EKS, create EKS. What is create EKS? I mean, we are not creating EKS, we are creating node groups, right? Because EKS itself is created here. So that's why it has to be a different name here. And this ng depends on is again hack, which has to be removed, I guess. But this is not refactoring, so that's as such. Okay, so what do we have here inside of node groups? So we already have Fargate, calling module, as well as node groups, calling module. How similar they are? Okay, we have cluster name and EKS. Well, yeah, they are rather similar in terms of we are passing very specific things to what we want to build. That's perfect. So I don't see issues with this one. Yeah, I think it's quite good. Okay, now let's go to workers. Workers is another big thing. Again, lookup everywhere. And launch configuration, yes. Thank you, Salam. Well, it's probably thanks to David. So launch configuration, how different this code from launch template? Well, one interesting observation which I already made is that people don't really care about launch configuration. And 2019 was last time when somebody added something here. Well, this is really recent thing, but it's not big deal. Here is initial comment from Brandon. it was well, it was around that time when AWS announced EKS, and Brandon was like, "Oh yeah, I need to make this stuff," and he did it. It was pretty cool. Okay, so people are adding something, but very small stuff has been refactored here. If I look into launch template on another side, I expect to see more recent changes here, like 2021, 21, also something from 19, but well, more or less, yeah, this is a bit more complete. And as I said, I will be not surprised if I don't see some features missing inside of launch configuration, because, well, not everybody is using it. So I will probably look into drop-in workers for the sake of like completeness inside of launch template. So we will have to have launch template defined inside of the module. Let me think. Yes, inside of the module. And I have idea. Okay, what if we, that's like me thinking loud, look into using another module for that. There is a module called autoscaling, which is doing exactly the same things, but, well, it does it very differently and very flexible as usual. It does support everything from launch configuration as well as from launch template. And if there is anything, what we have to do inside of launch template, we do it just in that module, bump new version of the dependency in EKS, and that's it. So let me show how this is done inside of the module. So if I go to launch template only and launch complete, yeah, this is complete. So if I take this code is rather long, but it's on purpose because it has a lot of options. You see, and there is even auto scaling schedule if you want to do it. So what we can do here is that in this launch template, instead of doing everything what we did here before, what if we just call this module, and in all of these names we pass what is it, name name. This is name, right? Well, this is name, but this is ugly name. Okay, let's do something. Desired capacity, for example. Okay, so desired capacity, we pass something like this. Can this be simplified? Yes, it can be easily. Instead of doing lookup in each place where it has to be happening, we can just make one prepared things in local, and it will be just one thing, local dot desired capacity. That's it. This magic hasn't to be copied in all of the module, like that's just bad. So the point of this approach is that, well, and here we have to put terraform-aws-modules, auto-scaling, AWS version, which version, I don't know, 4, 5, I don't know. So 4.0, for example. So the point is going to happen that when new feature is added into auto-scaling group, into auto-scaling module, sorry, we just updated the, change it here and add new property which is being added, like, I don't know, new arg and then local new arg, something like that. And that's it. There is no need to have the repetition which we have in that module, which is sometimes rather tricky still. And here all we do is just passing these modules or doing something unpredictable with mixed policies. Oh yeah, right, well, it's not unpredictable. But again, this stuff is already happening inside of mixed instance policy inside of autoscaling group. So if I want to yeah, that's exactly implemented there, so there is no need to do it here too. Well, I think it's quite cool. Does anyone have any ideas whether this is gonna to reduce amount of code or bring big benefits? I think it is, but I'm just curious what other people think, because this is something where we have to go at some point. This autoscaling thing has been created, written, maintained, again, by us. Why not just use it? So yes, refactoring will have to happen, but we do it once and that's it. And yeah, I think it is gonna to be cool. I will work on it, and I'm quite sure that amount of code which has to be removed here is rather big. It's pretty much, well, now it's just insane. It's like well, from here it's about 800 lines, so it will probably be like 200 lines. Well, I think it's awesome. I like it myself. More I'm thinking about it. Okay, and instance profile. Do we have to do instance profile? One thing which is important. Ah, yeah, right. Okay, here is it. Manage worker IAM resource. That's what I was thinking. So sometimes we need to make sure that we actually include all possible combinations, so users can bring their own instance profile or manage it externally or do something outside, and that's really important. Okay, cool. So I will think about this simplification, as I said here. Let's look into other places like modules. Well, I'm actually almost out of time. So Fargate module, what's going on here? I expect to see very little complexity here, where this local is defined. Good, somebody was lazy and put it into locals. That's exactly how it should be. Create what? This is again, this is quite interesting example of how things can be changed in 0.13. Well, I understand that create, Fargate, pod, you want to make sure that this is kind of respected here. But you can also write just try and then try to get whatever is available. So first you do your best and you want to get element again, no need to do that. Pod 0 IRN, because that's what you want. If it doesn't exist for some reason, great, let's try to get it from the data source, because it has to be from one of these places, whether we create it here or from data source. If nothing succeeds, like for example when we plan something what has not been yet created, we will just use empty value. That's it. I think it's much shorter and much more kind of logically easy to understand. Okay, but it was one thing. So what else do we have here? Well, this is the main guy which I expected to see here, and it is here. Do we do some magic here? No. Magic is absent here. Why do we do so many things with IAM? Because maybe at some point, like I'm just thinking loud, but if we would be dealing with a lot of IAM roles, like some complicated things like connecting different roles, policies, and so on, or manipulating JSON statements, we would have to do this, or we could do this in external module, which is again IAM module, which is in terraform-aws-modules. We are not doing so much, so I don't want to think about it. Okay, let's see what is next. Locals I saw. So Fargate is really the main thing. File names in general is this module is something what I wanted to work on, but I didn't have time apparently. So yeah, so this guy is quite simple. Is it simple? Well, it's not really simple because I mean, the definition of simple for me is very predictable. There has to be very few places where we use all these Terraform functions, like lookups. How many lookups do we have at all in this module? Well, I cannot even count. It's a lot. There has to be a little bit less because all low-level modules, they are already rather stupid. They just do whatever was kind of provided to them. No need to do lookups or replacement or any other complicated mess. Okay, so that's I just want to see what is profile expanded. Well, what is actually expanded here? We are just adding tags. No, we are merging tags to Fargate profile. Why? Why cannot you just use var tag? I don't know. I mean, okay, if you cannot use var tag, why cannot you just use var tags and look up from each value dot tags? Okay, like this. Then you don't need to do this whole magic here. Okay, let's leave it like this. It's important to not change too much because I don't know how to test it, but it's secret. Okay, what else is here? Fargate profile IDs. Well, what year was this written? 2020. I think this can be written in a simple way. That's it. No need to do for loop there. Okay, Fargate profile. What is it? Roles for use in config map. For E in range 1. What? Range 1? Oh, that was creative. Thank you, Hadi. Well, this was creative enough, but I don't understand the point here. What do you want to do? You want to return... No, it's just impossible to understand. Okay, let's see. So variables here are pretty good and pretty easy to understand. Versions good because we stick to 0.13 and we don't need to use anything later than that really. readme, well, readme is helper submodule. Yeah, and that's another thing which I was not sure to kind of to think about. So helper submodule. When I look into most of modules, I'm thinking about if module name can be used completely independently. For example, I have my own cluster already outside, and all I want to do is just to create a Fargate profile for that. So it's not helper submodule. It's totally independent. I mean, if I want, I can use it, right? There are pretty much no relation to the EKS module other than this cluster name thing, right? I mean, subnet also, but in general, it's totally independent module. And here it says designed for use by the parent module and not directly by end users. Well, I don't see why this has to be such a limitation, honestly. So, well, it's possible to change it anytime. Okay, good. So let's look briefly into node groups, and I think that's pretty much it. I'm running out of time. So, launch template, cloud init config. I mean, there is very long discussion already on issues, people talking about back and forth, some changes into that one. I don't know why it has been even selected. Like, I mean, why cloud init config is such a thing in this module? I mean, is there any strict requirement why we should be using it? Because if not, then we can maybe use just template file and that's it. I mean, yeah, but maybe we need to put it into I don't know, certain name. No, well, I don't know why it has to be like that. Anyway, when we render this cloud init config, we are providing a bunch of different parameters, and many people want to add more and more parameters because there are lots of different features and lots of different arguments. This is very hard to kind of to maintain, and quite obviously most of us are questioning why do we need to do this, because, well, we need to maintain it at some point. That's not a good example. I mean, that's not practical. And here we have another thing. Here we have launch template for workers. Well, we already had worker templates here and this one. Let me think, like, without going in details, how can this be generalized? Like, can we use the same code or similar code which we use in other launch template here? Probably yes. So, problem solved. So if we make this AWS launch templates, which is a little bit shorter than the one which we have in workers, but we can use the same module to not think so much about all of these implications, like all of this stuff. I think it will be rather small, and again, we can use for each inside of modules, so it should be fine. So what are we actually winning from that other than smaller size? Well, maintainability in fewer places. That's it. Yeah, probably that's it. Which is pretty decent benefit, I would say. Well, node groups expanded, and this is the place where pretty much everyone put their name into and added a lot of different things here. Like when somebody needed, then they added here. use some defaults, use some other defaults, use null. Oh my god, it's a mess. And then they merge these defaults. What is it, these defaults? Well, they merge one sort of default with another sort of defaults and with their value itself. Yeah. Well, I can see that it's over-engineered in many places, but I'm not quite sure how to simplify it yet. Oh, I can see try here. That's nice. Oh yeah, we added it recently. Right. Yeah, that's a good example. Okay, here we are making node groups. So node groups is I'm just thinking. So what if we have node groups inside of, yeah, okay, node groups belongs to its own module, but is there anything what we can externalize from this one? This guy is the only thing which has, what? Oh my god. Well, why it's so complicated? Who is writing this? Yeah, right, okay, 2 people writing it. So maybe that's why it is a bit too complicated. Okay, so anyway, this one is not possible to externalize because it has, well, it has nothing to do with any other resources. So it's not launch configuration, it's not auto scaling group. Okay, good. What about variables? Again, it's not EKS, it's create node groups. Tags. Well, actually, all of this stuff, and again, I will not be surprised. Yeah, exactly. Designed for use by parent module. Well, this limitation has to be removed. And to do this, we need to put all defaults everywhere, because users may want to use it without any defaults. And that's it. There is no rocket science. Versions is fine. Template is just how can this be rendered? Well, not very easy, I guess. Yeah, not very easy. Okay. This one for Windows. Well, I don't want to open it, but I accidentally open it. So examples, well, this is going to be my very last thing because I'm out of time. So examples, well, that's actually unfortunate because I wanted to start with this one today. Well, most of examples are good in a sense that we are creating 3 distinct things always. We are creating VPC, we are creating cluster itself, and then we are creating extra things like Fargate, subnet, or managed node groups, or something else. Let's see, worker groups and node groups are different instances of EKS nodes. Node groups are managed by AWS, so seems like they reused some defaults after node groups were added. Oh yeah, that's even more complicated. I see what you mean now. Yeah, that's a very good point, thanks. So if I look into this, I guess in locals, yeah, well, that's probably what you mean. We have worker groups defaults, right? Some defaults at right, okay, so we are talking about node groups, but we are actually taking some defaults from the so managed node groups is taking defaults from node groups itself, right? Yeah, that's like this one. No. Yeah, anyway, it's too complicated to create launch template false. Yeah, so let me look into examples and try to hear what you guys think. How does it sound? So question is, when I look into Fargate example, as well as basic example or launch template with managed node groups, doesn't really matter. There are primarily three type of things which are being created. First is that we are creating VPC, and then we are creating cluster, just like this, and then we are creating something like Fargate subnets, or node groups, or some other extra things. So what I was thinking is that there is a way to generalize, let's say, VPC creation, because I don't want to wait for enable NAT gateway. Actually, NAT gateway maybe not even needed for examples. Like for real, if you have private subnets and you want to talk to internet, of course you need it. But for test or for some lightweight experiments, you may not need it. So I want to externalize like bootstrapping of examples somewhere else, and then use Terraform remote state from the local file to get information about VPC, or actually I can use just data source. Yeah, actually I can use just data source to get information about subnet, public subnet, private subnet, whatever. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It will just save about 15 minutes. That's one thing which I wanted to do. And second one is quite interesting, is I want to make, that's what I was, well, it's kind of funny, a 1 hour and a half in stream, and that's actually what I wanted to do at the very beginning. I want to have, like, if you look into pretty much Lambda example, for example, we have complete. So complete is really complete. There are so many different use cases, so many different things created. But when I run this code, I can make sure that the whole module is actually creating what it's supposed to be doing. I know that there is no assertion, but if it ends without any errors, then I tend to believe that the code is actually written correctly. So I was thinking maybe I have to make complete example for cluster and combine as much as possible into one big thing there, created, and then when I do some refactoring or some optimization, I can just run a Terraform plan and see that there are no changes in it. That's like one way of refactoring big mess without having any test. That's my way of doing it. Yeah, so I will definitely make example complete, which will take 24 hours to make because there are a lot of resources, but it will test a lot of combinations, and I don't expect humans to apply it on their even development environment and expect something to work nicely. Yeah, so I think overall I get pretty good understanding of this project, where first thing is that I will drop launch configuration just for fun. I will ask users if there is need in Windows. Okay, I don't care about Windows right now, because, so drop launch configuration, and what else? What did I say? Oh yeah, and use autoscaling groups inside of worker launch template, because we already have all of this magic happening in one place, and it's actually more complicated than what we can see now. Yeah, so I expect this file to be smaller, approximately, I don't know, 400 lines less than it is now, or even more, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's it for now. If anyone has any ideas or questions or proposals, please let me know. And yeah, thank you very much, Andrew, for this last minute tip, or not tip, but introduction to the complexity. Yeah, so historically it has been written this way, that we can get defaults from 4 levels of four levels of inheritance, which is not bad things for some of elements, but for transparency, and especially for tags, we kind of more or less establish patterns how we expect tags to be working. But in general, try to be a little bit simpler there. So yeah. Okie dokie, guys. I think that's it for today. As I said earlier, join me next week, and I will be talking with Caesar about Terrascan. It's important to not mess with Terrascan, because Terrascan will just scam you and your code will look terrible. Okay, dokie. See you. Well, I don't have button to close stream, which is quite funny. It just disappeared. Well, how can I close stream? Maybe here.